Okay, hello everybody. This is such a learning opportunity for me. This whole Facebook, when I think I try to learn something new, something else pops up. Hello, happy Monday. Happy June 8th. It's nice to see you here today. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you'll come and say hello. I want to talk about mindfulness today. So, welcome back. This is my fourth time ever going live, and I am learning and playing and trying to connect with some of my friends out there and wanting just to talk about a few things. So, my name is Lisa Bayless. Um, Thanks, friend. I see you, Paul. I know it just got kicked off and it's joining back. I'm so glad. Hello. Thank you. You found me. Somebody's going to have to give me a mini lesson in this Facebook Live just when I think I got it. Something shifts, but we're here. So again, my name is Lisa. I am a high school counselor and teacher in the Greater Victoria School District. I'm also a mindfulness teacher and a trained mindfulness self-compassion teacher. And I love to talk about the well-being of educators. And today, I am just so grateful that some of you are here. And I want to talk about mindfulness because, man, June is hard, hey? And again, just congrats to all the educators across BC who are going back into their second week of back into this, new way of educating and teaching, being half in the classroom and doing online learning and trying to figure out how to do both at the same time. And not only do that, but also do it in June, right? I was watching this meme in Facebook, and I'm sure many of you saw it. I think it's from that show Wipeout, where there's this person who's trying to run across a path, and these things are bouncing up and hitting them, and they just keep trying to get over them and trying to get over them. And, someone said, this is what it's like teaching in June. And right? We just keep getting hit with more and more things. June is a tough month. It's the end of the year. The kids are tired. Educators are tired. And yet it's not finished, right? Here we're trying to do this blended way of learning. We're still doing report cards. We're still trying to connect and build relationships and make sure our kids are happy and safe and our students are learning. And we're still, we still keep going. And what I liked about that meme around this educator is like that educator didn't, or whoever that person was in that activity, they didn't give up. They just kept pushing and pushing. And the grit and determination that most educators have to face in June, man, it's a pretty intense experience. So, how are you feeling right now? How is June? It's a difficult month, and I wanted to talk about how perhaps when it's coming at us so much and so hard and so fast, there's potentially a way that we can slow it all down a little bit and we can try and get to the end of June without feeling like we are collapsing at the end of a finish line, and instead perhaps feel like maybe we are doing it with a little bit left in our tank, and that we can head into our summer feeling maybe a little bit more restored instead of pushing and pushing and pushing. And so, sometimes for me, and one of the things that I've learned, that mindfulness is a little bit of that secret sauce that can help us with getting through the end of the year. So what do you think? Is mindfulness one of those things? Is it just a revolution? Is it just another tool in education that's coming up to try and, help? And is it going to be out the door in a few more years? Or is it something that's here? And is it something that we need? And is it something that needs to stay? So, mindfulness is becoming one of those catchphrases that's here and everywhere. And, as a facilitator and teacher of mindfulness, I love to use it, and I bring it into my home and my family. And hello, thanks for joining. And, I always laugh because I have two kids too. They're 8 and 10. And my 10-year-old always says, mindfulness, Mom, that's your thing. It's not my thing, right? Mindfulness isn't for me. It's your thing. But then he'll so gently say, but, can you come and just sit with me and do that body scan to help me calm my body? Or can we take 3 breaths together? I'm feeling really upset right now. And so this is one of those things, right? Our kids are asking for it in many different ways, whether they're using the words or not. The Dalai Lama once said, if we taught every 8-year-old meditation in the world, we'd end violence in 1 generation. What a beautiful thought, right? If we just shared these practices. Maybe we could end some violence. And in our world today, where, man, we all need a little bit more support, and with everything going on and with the stress that we're feeling, this may be just one of those things that we could bring in a little bit more. So I pose the question, yes or no, do we need this? What do you think? Is mindfulness one of those things? Is it just like roses in the air of something that maybe we can strive for? Is it something that we need to work on and bring into our classrooms and our schools? What do you think? I'm a big believer, as you can imagine, that mindfulness is one of those things that we need to bring into schools. And here's why. Here's what I think. Brene Brown calls it courageous presence, right? This concept of mindfulness. It's like showing up every day and being present. And it is hard, especially as an educator, to continue to be present when we are feeling so pulled and pulled and pulled. But when we keep showing up every day and we're present, one of the things that we do is we're actually being able to connect and be with the people around us, including our students who need us so very much. Mindfulness is about this concept of just being in the present moment, being aware a little bit more of what's going on inside and outside of you. And, it's also one of those things that we try and do without judgment, which, try and not have judgment when you're feeling frustrated or upset or worried. Christy just said it's a necessary ongoing practice. You're speaking my language, my friend. That's totally it. It's one of those things that if we just try doing once, it doesn't necessarily have the lasting impact, does it? It's an ongoing practice. And I love that you just said that. There's so much brain science around it that's growing right now. And I think, I read some research from the World Health Organization that in 2020, mental health concerns would, 1 in 4 people would be having mental health concerns, and we'd be seeing more rise of depression and anxiety. And the research now is showing that by 2030, it's likely that mental illness is going to overtake heart disease as the biggest concern for disease in our world. And yet, our minds are the number one thing that determine health in many, many different ways. We actually don't work on it very much, especially in schools, right? Oh, especially in schools. And so we have this opportunity to practice with it a little bit more. And what does that mean to practice with mindfulness? It means, bringing our attention and really being with everything that's going on around us. And if you've been following a few of my other chats, we've been talking about that a little bit more, like actually sitting and holding all the feelings that we're having, being with, the joy of being back to school and the grief and fear and frustrations, like you can feel both at the same time. But what do we do so much? We, the hard, difficult feelings come in and we deflect. And I was thinking about this today because, even as a parent, I remember when my kids were really little, and maybe you did this as a parent, if you're a parent, that, something bad, they fall and they hurt themselves. And what's the first thing we do? We pick them up and we offer them some compassion. Oh, honey, you're hurt. This is hard. But the first thing we do is say, oh, look, a bird outside, right? Oh, look. Like look at the squirrel running, and we automatically take them out of their experience. So we've all been conditioned to do this, right? It's so much harder to be with people when they're struggling or suffering. It's so much harder to be with ourselves when we're struggling or suffering. Do we need this in our schools? How do we bring it? And the thing with mindfulness, it's a brain practice. It's coming back and showing up and over again. It's creating those neural pathways. What wires together fires together, and it's coming back into being with all of our experience all the time. And that's pretty hard. And so again, I ask, what do you think? Do we need mindfulness in schools? I have a lot of people that say, absolutely, we need to teach all of our kids mindfulness. Yeah. Here's what I think. I think if we want our kids to learn it, we need to practice it for ourselves as educators. If we want mindfulness to be a practice, and mindfulness being our kids to be emotionally intelligent and aware of what they're feeling, if we want them to recognize not only their sufferings, but their joys, if we want them to be aware of what's the physical sensations in their body and how to manage them, then maybe one of the best things that we can offer is to do that for ourselves first. And It's not a cure-all. There's no magic pill. It's actually work that we need to do. We need to practice with it, and we need to keep doing it. And it's really about turning towards the direct experience that we're having as opposed to going away for it at any point. It's so easy to run away from those difficult feelings. It's so easy to try and escape from, feelings of fear and overwhelm. And what happens is we can't control everything that's happening in our life, but we can control how we respond to it. And this is the art of mindfulness. So I'm a big believer that we need to offer our educators practices in this. We need to give them the opportunity to learn what it feels like to embody presence. What does that mean? What do you think that means to embody presence? That's a big thing to say. It means to actually know what it's like to feel the sensations in your body. It's to recognize that you have thoughts and you don't always have to attend to them. It's being able to manage when the difficult feelings come up, and then to actually meet them a little bit and not get overwhelmed with them. It's to be in a classroom when you've got 20 some, 25, 29, however many, human beings who all need your attention at the same time, and your level of stress and overwhelm is growing. And it means to have the capacity to pay attention to it and calm yourself first so that you can be present with all of those little beings and all of their states too. Because what we do know is that our kids are going to tune to us, which means they're going to, check in with our nervous systems. We have these things called mirror neurons, and our kids learn at a very young age to follow along with what we're doing. And I think mindfulness is one of those things that when we teach it to kids, but we don't always know it for ourselves, they don't always get it either. So I have a story. I was, a new teacher. I had an opportunity to go up to Fort St. John many, many, many years ago on my first teaching contract. In fact, I wasn't even finished university. I was on a letter of permission. And as a PE and English secondary trained teacher, I went up for the last 3 months of school year, and I taught Science 8, Science 10, and environmental science in a junior high. And I was learning everything the night before I was teaching it. And I was just trying so hard to, wing it as I went. And I remember one day with my lovely grade 10s doing a lab, and I don't know, I blew up a light bulb and I melted a test tube, and I was just trying to figure it out as I went. And you know what the fun part of that was, is the kids looked at me and said, "Hey, Miss Bayless, do you actually know what you're doing? Like, do you actually know anything about science?" And the truth was like, not really, right? Like, I was winging it. I was just trying to figure out how to be with them. But the lucky thing is I had also built enough relationships with them that I could show up with my courageous presence. And I say, "Hey, let's learn this together." And we went through it and we journeyed through it together because I was able to be in all of it with them. But what I love about this is it showed me right away that kids know if you're being authentic or not. Kids can totally smell your authenticity. And when I say that, it's really important to me around mindfulness is that there's so many practices out there that we can bring to kids. And I know that there are many great educators trying to bring this into their classrooms. But sometimes we can do good badly. That if we try and teach mindfulness without a full experience by it, sometimes our kids don't always get it the way we want them to. So here's my call, is that if it's hard for you right now and you are finding June just another one of those months of trying to get through it and you feel like you're being hit by 100 million things, my call, slow down, do the next right thing. But also, practice being with whatever's going on a little bit more, and then start asking hard questions. Like, if mindfulness is really important for our kids, then why aren't we getting the support as educators too? Here in Victoria, we've been training educators for the last 4.5 years. Mindfulness, we have a program called Mindfulness for Educators, where we actually teach and help the educators, counselors, YFCs, EAs, teachers, all of them, librarians, school staff, janitors, all of them can show up. And we say, we want you to know this first and fully embody it before you take this out to your students. And, the feedback from that is it's really shifted how teachers show up in classrooms, how they can be more present, how they can get through. And then when, the world gets hit with things like, hey, a pandemic or, grief across the world, sometimes we have a little more capacity to stay present and stay well. So my last question is, how are you asking your district for practices by trained mindfulness instructors so that you get the opportunities to? I highly, highly support mindfulness in schools. I think it's essential we teach it to our kids, but I don't think we should do it with our kids until we've had a full practice for ourselves first. So ask yourself, what would it take for you to get mindfulness into your school, and how could you bring these practices into your own experience for yourself? And if you want to know more, reach out and ask me. I love to talk about it. So, yes or no, should mindfulness be in schools? I'm a big 2 thumbs up. I hope you think so too. I hope that you realize and can learn a little bit about how our courageous presence is going to help us be more present for our kids, and also help us manage our own well-being as we go through these really difficult months. So June is tough. June is fun. I thinking of all of my educator friends out there. I know that, I'm back in my office and working, and every day is a new experience. So I'm thinking of all of you. I hope that you continue to show up. Thanks for playing with me on this Facebook live calls. I'm having a really great time just coming in and hearing from so many of you, telling me about your experience. And I hope that, even if you take 2 minutes today to slow down and breathe, that's the best offering I can give you right now. So much kindness to all of you. Keep doing your hard work. I see you. I hear how hard it is, and I value the work that you're doing. Keep it up, educators, and thanks for joining me today. It's really nice to see so many of you.